Hey everybody, how's it going? This is your boy Drum Dealer from SoundNarcotics.com, and today I'm going to be bringing you a tutorial on how to make that new R&B that you're hearing from artists like SZA or Bryson Tiller or Kehlani, those type of artists. I'm using Logic, but you can use any DAW. It's not about the DAW, it's about the creativity of the individual. I'll say that. I'm using drums from my kits that you can find on SoundNarcotics.com, specifically the Draco kit. So if you want to pick that up, you can go ahead and do that. I'm going to preview the track so you can hear what I made. Alright, so you get the basic, gist of what I was trying to do. I'm not using that many tracks here. I'm only using 8 tracks. And the thing I like to stress is, it doesn't matter how many tracks you have. As long as the track comes out dope, some of my favorite tracks in hip-hop and R&B, they don't have that many tracks, and that's fine. So don't worry about, trying to add all these different parts and different tracks and different, whatever. Sometimes, I'll say this, sometimes less is more, All right, to start off, I have the kick pattern. Let me solo this. I'm using battery 4. I use that for all my drum processing. And they just have so many effects down here you can really add without tying up the CPU like that. I didn't really add too many effects on this particular kick. I'll play it so you guys can hear. It already knocks, and that's what we try to do at SoundNarcotics.com, give you sounds that already knock. You don't have to do a whole lot of editing and, trying to get it to punch and hit through the mix. They come and they hit already out the gate, so you can just create. All right, and I pitched it down 2 semitones just to give it a deeper feel. A lot of people don't know, but your kick drum should be in the key of the song that you're doing, and if it's not, it can clash and it could just totally throw off what you were trying to do. And, so you should always make sure the kick is in the key of the song. I have a channel EQ on here. What I have is a little boost of the lows and the low mids of 1 decibel, and I cut out some of the highs. There weren't a lot of high frequencies in this particular sample, and that's what they do for this type of R&B. The producers and the engineers, they cut out the highs. It gives it that lo-fi feel. So the pattern is just real simple. I'll play it for you. That's the pattern throughout the whole song. Just that pattern. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. That's all it is. Real simple. Less is more for this type of style. It's got that. This style has that minimalistic, element to it where it's not doing too much. All right, let's move on to the snare. Again, battery 4. I'm using clap 13 from the Draco kit. And no, I didn't pitch it and do anything really to it. It just knocks right out the gate. I didn't even add anything as far as EQs or compression or, delays, or I just left it how it was. And it's just you know, the regular snare pattern. Let me play it. And it's just like that the whole song. Real simple. Alright, next let's move on to the hi-hats. Again, battery 4. I'm using, you know, another sample from the Draco kit. Just give it a second to load. What I do with my hi-hats is I'll pitch one sample down in battery, i.e. -2 semitones, and leave one, you know, just how it is. And that way it gives it that variation in pitch that you guys are hearing in these types of beats. Especially when you chop them and you know, speed them up and do all those little runs with them. When you have the pitch varying in the hi-hats, it gives it an extra bounce. And I played with the velocities. As you see, I didn't just leave the same velocity. They all have different velocities. That gives it that real live drummer type feel. Also, with the hi-hats, I move them off the grid. I just pull them back some to give it that human element, so it doesn't sound so mechanical. Channel EQ, I just cut out all the lows and the mids, and I just boosted the highs about 1 dB, you know, just to let them stand out in the mix. So I'll play the hi-hat pattern for you. And as you can hear, you know, the different velocities gives it that bounce, and the different pitch gives it that, you know, bounce as well as being pulled back off the grid. So if you hear everything together, well, before I do that, I panned my, forgot to talk about panning. I panned the hi-hats to the left about, you know, 12 or 12. The snare to the right at 5. And the kick I always leave in the middle. I always have my kick, you know, in mono. So just to hear those 3 elements, you know, so far, the kick, snare, and the hi-hats, it's already gonna knock just out the gate with no, you know, samples or no transitions, no bass, no melody. Just check it out. It's already knocking. You could write something to it, get an idea just off the drums. All right, now let me see here. Next, I'll go to the keys, and in order to get that real new sound in R&B, the latest sound, you're gonna have to learn how to not necessarily play the keys, but you're gonna have to learn how those chord progressions are being made. Even if you can't play them live, if you have to click them in. I'm not the best keyboard player myself, but I know music theory, so you should definitely learn how to do some music theory in order to get your chord progressions to sound real professional. But I'll give you some tips on how you can do that without really knowing how to play. To start off, I'm using Expand. A lot of people didn't know about this for a while, but 40 kind of told everybody in a few interviews, and it's no secret anymore. Basically, I'm just using the acoustic piano, grand piano eco preset, and there's nothing on it. It's just how it came out the box as far as, you know, the parameters. I left everything the same. I thought it sounded dope, you know, just by itself without tweaking it. Channel EQ, I just cut out the lows, so when the bass comes in and my kick is hitting, it's not clashing frequency-wise, and I added just a little echo on here, just to give it a different bounce, so it's not so mechanical. It's got a live kind of feel to it. I'll let you hear what I did to it. I did two parts. I did one part, I played it, and then, like I said, I'm not the best keyboard player, and I had to record the second part of the piano section separately. But whatever you have to do to get it right, we're not trying to be the best live musician. We're just trying to come out with the best production we can. All right, so to let you hear that, and I didn't pan this. Let me pan this. I'll pan this to the left about 6%, and I'll pan this to the left about 5%, just so it doesn't clash with the kick and the bass that I have in mono at 0, not being panned at all. All right, so to let you hear it, here's the pattern. And it just loops after that. Let me see if I can explain this in a real simple way. Basically, the song is in the key of G sharp minor, and I'm doing a 6-2-5, then a 6-2-5-1 progression. I'll give you a little tip as far as trying to find these progressions. You can play on the keys and come up with them on your own, but the wheel has already been created. And these chord progressions, music theories are already been created, so you don't have to, try to come up with these real elaborate progressions. You can just Google, popular chord progressions for R&B or whatever genre you're trying to do, and just take those and, put them in your production, and, just play around with it like that. Now, another tip I'll give as far as making it sound professional without really knowing how to play, I strum my chords. So, as you can see right here, this is not on the grid. It's strummed, it's moved back. You could play around with it. And that gives it that, human element. I keep stressing that, I don't want it to sound mechanical. I hear a lot of beats and they're dope, but you could tell it was made on a computer, and it was just, and that's cool, but I like to, make it feel like, you don't know what I used to make this, you don't know, how I did it, it just sounds dope, and it doesn't sound like, so on beat and, so perfect, and I, added some notes just to sprinkle on top, just so it gives it an extra bounce, and it's not so loopy, it's not so just the same thing over and over. And that's pretty much it. But as you can tell already from just the drums and the chords, it already, if I was to play it right now, it would already sound like a full song almost. See what I'm saying? Now, let's go to the pad part. I just layered the progression from the keys minus the little solo notes, these little things, just the main chords. And for this part, I did quantize it and I left it on the grid. I didn't strum these notes just to give it a different feel. I got one part that's strumming, one part that's played straight, and it kind of gives it a different bounce that you normally wouldn't get. And I layer mainly all my melodies, all my chords, just to make it sound bigger, because we are using software. You know, I do have hardware. I'm not using it now, but to get that real feel, that warm feel, you're gonna have to layer your sounds. You know, to give it that depth. You know, that clarity. And I use silence, just a regular preset in Bank One, pad into the night, you know, just a basic preset. Sounds dope though. I didn't tweak the, you know, distortion, the phaser, or chorus, EQ. I just kind of left it how it is. Oops. And I panned it to the right, 9. Again, I cut out the lows, so I, you know, don't have these frequencies clashing with the other lows that I really want. And I added a VCC channel plugin from Slate Digital. I love their plugins. This plugin in particular helps give that warmth that I was just talking about, that clarity, that depth, that weight on the sounds to make it sound like almost hardware. And let me show what I did on the plugin. I used this console, the Brit, and I just left the input how it was, and I just cranked the drive just to give it a warmer feel. Now, if you hear it, it sounds like. And it's just gonna loop. Next, we're gonna go to the sub. Now, for the sub, I use the 808 from my kit, the Draco kit. I'm using battery 4. I'll let you hear it. Just give it a second, let it load. And with all the 808s in our packs, we key label them, so you know what key it is when you try to pitch it across, whatever you're using, you know, whether it's in battery or Fruity Loops or Cubase or Ableton, you know the key. And for those who are trying to do it in battery, I'll give you a little quick lesson on how to do that. Basically, you're going to hit the sample. Well, first you're going to go to key range. You're going to hit the sample where it starts, and then I'm messing up. Gonna hit the sample where it starts, and then hit the sample where it ends. So the key range is from C1 to C2. You're gonna make sure under the setup tab that key track is selected, and the number of voices, if it's not 1, should be 1. So only one note can play at a time. And that way now you can play the whole scale, all the notes, and they're all pitched correctly on the right keys. All right. And I also use the tuner because, you know, just to make sure it's not too much off tune. It's, you know, pretty much on tune. I have an enveloper going on this plugin, and for the time I put it up all the way, and I reduced it -26 for the gain on the initial transient, because it was a little bit too strong. It was knocking too much. I like that. That's a cool problem to have, your drums when they're hitting too hard. So that's what I did. What else did I have on here? Just a little channel EQ, boosted 100 hertz, 2 decibels, and I cut the mids and the highs. I don't need those frequencies. The sub is supposed to just handle the low frequencies. That's all I wanted to do in this case. I left it in mono. I didn't pan it. And the last effect I had was a Slate Digital virtual mix bus, and for the console I did the RC tube, and again I just cranked the drive all the way up on it. And the pattern goes like this. Basically, all I'm doing for the bass on this type of R&B, you want the bass just to kind of just not do too much. Follow the root notes. Just make sure that it has a real deep thud. It knocks in the car, on the system, in your house or wherever, the club. It's just got to knock that bass. And I don't play my bass notes on the grid, again, for that human element, so that's pretty much it for the bass, the sub. I'll let you hear the pattern in context with the keys. It's going, I'm playing the 6 note, the 2 note, and then the 5 note. And again, that may sound foreign, but just do some basic music theory lessons and you'll understand what I'm saying. It's mainly hitting on the 6th, the note, the 2nd note, and the 5th note. And I have a few notes here. It's jumping back and forth from, high to low, low to high, stuff like that. Just to give it an extra bounce. That's what they like to do in this style of R&B. And the last element is a vocal sample. Now, for my samples, sometimes I just drag them in. Sorry, I got somebody texting me. But for the vocal sample, I chose, what was I saying? I chose an Aaliyah sample, but sometimes I drag it in to Logic and I'll chop it and play with it like that, or I'll bring it in to Battery and chop it. Now, basically, it's, just your love is a one and a, that song. Your love is a one and a goes on and on and on. And basically, in this part, in the main tab under Engine, instead of Standard, I click this right arrow right here, and it'll take you to a place where you can speed up the sample, because the original song is slower than my my song that I just made now, and you could do Standard or Pro. I had it in the Pro preset at 128%, so it sped it up a little bit, and I had to pitch it up because the song wasn't in the key of G sharp minor, so I pitched it up 2 semitones, a whole step, and I only have really 2 chops. And that effect you're hearing is Wave CLA, the effects plugin, and I have the Caveman preset. It just gives it a dope effect on it. I use this a lot for a lot of the effects I need on different sounds. This CLA effects is serious. And channel EQ, again, I'm cutting out the lows, boosting the mids and the highs a little bit, 2.5 decibels, because I wanted the lows out, so again, nothing clashes, and the highs, it's a vocal, so it's got to be heard. The lyrics have to be heard, so I boosted the highs a little bit so you can hear them a little bit better in the mix. And I use Pancake. Now, I'll probably do another tutorial on Cable Guys and their plugins because they are just incredible. Basically, this is just the panning automation plugin. It pans it and automates it by itself, so you don't have to go in and play with it and go left to right, right to left. It does it already, and they have, so many presets, and you can get more presets online. So yeah, so it's gonna, if you listen, it'll pan from left to right. Now to hear it in, and I panned it in the channel 7 to the right, just to, you know, give it its own space. But to hear everything in context, this is it. Now for this part, I cut out the kick, some of the bass, bring it back. Took out the hi-hats there, some of the snares. You know, I'll do a whole nother tutorial on basically how to arrange your tracks once you get the basic loop and the essence of the beat, you know. But basically I just took out, you know, some elements, so it gives it a feeling that you're going from one section to another. So this would be the chorus, then you're dropping off into the verse, and from the verse back into the chorus, etc., whatever your format is. Yeah, but that's basically it, man. As you can see, it's only, like I said, 8 tracks, nothing complex as far as having a whole bunch of tracks. All you really need is good quality drum samples. Again, I'm using the Draco kit. You can get the Draco kit from soundnarcotics.com. I'm just using really just basic, you know, plugins, nothing too CPU heavy. You know, expand and silence and vocal sample. That's all these beats, all these new R&B beats really are. They're just